Right, we're going to talk about the importance of, the impact indeed, of artificial intelligence on the hospitality industry. Now, this is being discussed as something new, but I remember 25 years ago, the world chess champion Garry Kasparov was beaten by a computer, Deep Blue. Some of you might remember that. I think I could easily have beaten Deep Blue, actually. I would have just pulled the plug out of the socket, but he didn't think of that. We have some experts on this subject, and they are going to be introduced by Carson, who we've heard from already today, Carson Booth. You all introduce your panel. Please welcome them to the stage. They're here to talk to us about AI. I'm glad they're here in person and not as holograms. So, Carson Booth, round of applause. Over to you, sir.
Good evening. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. So we're going to have a short conversation around the impact of AI and how we should be preparing as a hospitality industry. And sorry for the podium, since we're sitting down. I'm joined today with Gavin and Adrian, and I'd like you guys to introduce yourselves.
I'll go first. Gavin Allison. I currently head up the technology function for Law Group. And in terms of expertise, as I'm sure everybody in the room has, I've developed a keen interest in AI over the last couple of years and been fortunate enough to deploy 2 flavors into Law Group over the last couple of years, one of which won us the KT Award for Best Technology on Monday night, for those who didn't miss it. Thank you.
Very good. Thanks, Gavin. Adrian Bingham, Head of Customer Contact and Data Integration with Leonardo Hotels UK and Ireland. Been working in the RPA and AI space for about 6 years, and have really been on that journey through robotic process automation as it started within our industry, which was very much expert-led, and as a simple explainer, it's kind of like a macro in Excel. You're teaching a machine to do something, and we've taken that through several processes and several of the things you've seen from other speakers through to where we are now using generative AI, which rather than being expert-led, actually goes and feeds off the internet to do its own learning. And part of the real opportunity and the excitement in the space is that how do we feed the AI to enhance our customer journey?
That's great. Well, welcome, gentlemen. And I'm Carson Booth with HFTP. Let me start with just 2 statements. So generative AI technologies are being positioned to significantly enhance the hospitality industry by improving customer experiences, streamlining operations, optimizing revenue, and providing a competitive advantage in a crowded hospitality market. As a result, many hotels and their technology suppliers are accelerating their AI efforts and are increasingly adopting AI-based solutions to meet the evolving needs and expectations of their guests. So before we get into this conversation, we should probably define the difference between AI and generative AI. And I'm sure these 2 gentlemen, one of you will be able to do this for the audience.
Yeah, sure, I'll take that one. So as I mentioned, AI is the replacement of a human with a machine, or a human process with a machine, typically exampled through, as I say, the robotic process automation and machine learning that's been around for some time now, whereby you have an expert that defines an operating process. You then get a system developer to design that process and build it and program it and then execute it, whereby generative AI consumes content and then puts that content out based on a defined set of rules.
And creates new content.
And creates new content, yeah.
I think that's the flag for me. I mean, DALL-E and creating new images from text is fascinating.
Incredible.
So Gavin, in your opinion and experience so far, what are the benefits that you're seeing by adopting an AI strategy in your businesses?
I think the biggest benefit is certainly learning and understanding the benefits and the shortfalls. There's a big learning curve that needs to be undertaken by hotels when we begin integrating this technology into operations, which is predominantly a people-based or people-orientated function. Anybody that has convinced a chef that a program is going to tell him how many chefs he needs in the kitchen on Tuesday night's dinner service knows what I'm talking about. There can be some extensive learning that needs to be undertaken. I think the earlier you begin the AI strategy journey, the better off you'll be further on down the line when these changes inevitably are going to change the way we operate our businesses in the future.
Interesting. So, Adrian, so we've seen a significant adoption of AI bots to handle basic guest requests, et cetera. And I think the Ava example is for me, it's amazing to think what's going to happen in 5 years or 3 years versus what we can do today, right? So, what do you see as the impact? I mean, is there a loss of the human touch, and what is that impact?
I don't think there's a loss of the human touch. I think particularly when you talk about AI strategy, it should really be focused around what are the outcome benefits of the AI strategy. And we've heard from a number of speakers today around some of the pressures the hospitality industry is under. We're struggling to get staff. There's a war on to get people through the door. There's a need to get extra and richer data. Someone mentioned earlier about revenue management and how AI can go and get data from multiple data points. I think to me, the really key thing is deciding where the human touch comes in and make it somewhere where it's really going to make a difference, and have the AI, the bot, do the other stuff. So when there is human interaction, there's that one step above that benefit to the customer.
I think we saw in the Ava video, generally guests are responding positively to this. I mean, what are your experiences? I mean, are you seeing direct responses from the guests, and what are they?
I think so. I've been witness to guests that have conversed with voice bots that didn't know that that they were actually talking to a bot. However, on the other hand, I have seen AI get it wrong, and the frustrations that come with that from a guest perspective. So I think we're still in the infancy of the potential to come, but I do see the positives as well as the negatives that exist today with businesses adapting it.
Yeah, I would agree. And if you look at the way our guests in particular have responded to AI, they don't necessarily care whether it's AI or a human. What they really want to do is be serviced and be serviced well. And as long as you have your AI strategy set and you have the controls and make sure the AI can't go wrong, because in effect the AI can't go wrong, it's how you program it. So you make sure you've got those controls in place. As long as the guest is getting the best possible service, whether that's from AI or whether that's from a human, then that's the outcome they're looking for.
So on that idea, Adrian, is there a distinction of the adoption or implementation of AI tools at a property level? Is there a distinction based upon star level? 2 to 3 stars do more or less than 4 to 5 star? And what about business versus resort, et cetera?
I think naturally the 4 and 5 stars that have a bigger offering have more opportunity to engage and utilize AI, but the tools are very similar, and the tools are open to all. And it goes back to the initial question you asked around AI strategy and having an AI strategy and looking at the business model and how it fits into your business model. And one thing that I haven't heard mentioned in any of the sessions today that talks about AI is the role evolving, whereas it's not necessarily an IT project, although IT are very heavily influenced and influential in that. It's about an optimization role of AI, someone that will look at AI and say, how does that best fit our business? How do we optimize that balance between human and AI to make it best for our guests? And I think naturally over time, as our industry evolves with AI, that role or someone fulfilling that role, it won't necessarily be IT, will become more and more prevalent to our business.
Interesting. And Gavin, do you see a distinction as well? And
I do, especially in terms of budgets and so forth. I think if you look at what Salesforce is doing with Tableau at the moment, it's phenomenal. And if anybody hasn't seen the DreamWorks conferences where Salesforce launched their artificial intelligence application and what it can do with your data, it's incredible. And however, that comes at a cost. And I do feel that small independent, smaller hotel groups are going to struggle to reach those budgets. And I do see a big gap in what's readily available to larger companies than smaller ones. So
I think that's a very interesting point. When you look at the base technology, is there a cost or a technological difference in implementation? You know, when you go back and think a 2, 3-star, 4-star hotel may only be able to afford a certain level versus a 4 or 5-star, et cetera. I mean, you know, how different is that technology, I guess?
I think it's very different. For companies that just don't have I think there's a big budgetary gap in what smaller hotels can afford. I think if you look at the sales forces of the world and you look at what Workday is doing at the moment, those guys are spending millions on research and development every single year, and they have the development teams to keep enhancing those applications. But that comes at a very big cost to hotels. So it would be fantastic to see some of the smaller programs, applications, taking on those big guys and providing applications to the smaller independents of the world.
Adrian, you agree?
Yeah, I tend to agree, but I also think that AI is still in its infancy. That will naturally, over time, it will cascade down. It will be cheaper. People will come to market with cheaper products or different commercial models that will suit smaller hotel groups, smaller chains. But I think at the moment the opportunity is there pretty much for, regardless of what market you're in, what star rating you are, you should be setting that AI strategy and be somewhere on the journey.
I mean, it seems like lower starred hotels, and I hate to differentiate them like that, but it seems like that they would benefit more because they have less staff.
Because they have less staff.
Right?
Yeah. And I think a lot of the companies represented here today offer a fantastic starting point for everyone to begin that AI journey and begin integrating the development of AI and the changes into the operations.
So Adrian, you and I were talking before, you know, guest requests can be, you know, very nuanced, as we saw in the video, right? You know, they can be complex, nuanced, you know, layered, right? So, you know, why will it be hard eventually to tell the difference between a human and AI?
I think it will be hard. I think the challenge at the moment is the nuance. And I think that goes back to a controlled journey of the optimization that I talk about. So particularly as AI is still very new and we're all still learning, I think having that human interaction at a logical point that can maybe translate the nuance, for want of a better expression, so that the AI can then do the content piece. I think that's definitely still in play in a lot of places. And I think over time that dynamic will kind of evolve into something different. But at the moment, it's critically important that a human works alongside AI with a guest journey kind of lens on to say what makes this best for the guest. And at the same time, someone's looking at the overall architecture to say, how are we making life better for our guests, but also for our employees, for our bottom line? What's that overall kind of overarching place where we deploy AI to get the best return? And where do we best deploy humans to get the best return? How do we make that guest journey just the best it possibly can be?
Anything to add?
No.
So, I mean, we talked just a few minutes ago about, you know, how companies with the economic means will be able to adopt and deploy more. And, you know, I think if we look at the crystal ball, right, the crystal ball is a little bit foggy sometimes, especially in the kind of near to medium term. But if we start thinking about, you know, that 2, 3, 4, 5-year horizon, you know, where do we see OTAs taking AI? And, you know, when will we see this crossover between AI-enabled attribute-based selling, where AI can effectively build and price optimize an entire journey? When is that going to happen?
I think it started.
Okay.
If anybody has seen Booking.com's AI trip planner available to Genius users, I know it's not a good company to talk about in this, OTAs and commissions. However, if anybody hasn't played around with their trip planner, it's futuristic. It's already there. So I believe that companies such as the Booking.coms of the world that have that R&D budget, once again, are going to develop it at pace, and we should all be keeping a very close eye on what they're doing and how we can adopt that similar models into our hotels, because it's begun already.
Adrian?
Yeah, I'd agree, and I would also recommend anyone that hasn't had a look at that tool, go and have a look at it. It's very slick. I think the one thing I will say is the OTA are already there. They do have the R&D budgets that a lot of hotel groups wouldn't necessarily have. What I will say is when we combat it is, if you look 5 years ago, we would have had to go external to a third-party provider to look at AI for us, to help us on that AI journey. And we still have to do that. But there are tools in the marketplace that you can fairly easily adopt, that can help you build your own AI platform with very little coding experience required, regardless of the size of your property, that are fairly cost effective. That means that you can build tools to react to augment, to complement the journeys that the OTAs are taking guests on.
Yeah. So what I just heard, and it actually leads to my next question, which is interesting. So my question originally was, should brands be concerned about further disintermediation, to their brand as a result, or should they be, aggressively trying to adopt an AI strategy? And it sounds like they should.
Yeah.
And yes, they should be concerned, and yes, they should be adopting. So, I mean, what kind of things could they start today? I mean, obviously there's suppliers. We saw a video of one. I mean, what else could they be doing?
I think pick a discipline within a hotel, whether that be your back office communications, whether it be an RPA project in finance, whether it be purchasing a third-party application, voice. We've got voice people here, we've got web chat people here. We've got a lot of very well-versed suppliers here today, and it really is an opportunistic era we're living in for hotels. Everybody's running towards running towards building a bot that's going to be the best at a specific discipline, whether that be voice or web chat. And I think everybody in the room certainly has opportunity to start small, is where I would begin. Start small and build on it. Build on departments, build on various different disciplines with each of the hotels. So start small, but dream big.
Adrian, you're nodding your head.
Gavin's completely right. I think that you don't need multiple £1 million budgets any longer to look at this space. I don't think you need to be technical wizards. I'm certainly not a technical wizard to be looking at this space. And pretty much the way Gavin just described it is exactly the journey that we went on. And we've been working in the AI space now for 6 years. And we started very small with just one process in one function, and then just built out from there. And then the other important part of the journey that I mentioned was, it shouldn't just be an IT project. You need to bring with you the heads of function, the subject matter experts, people that are passionate about doing something different and doing something it's still fairly cutting edge. Now, none of us are in the kind of Google space or the Microsoft space, but AI is still fairly cutting edge as an industry, and it's still evolving and growing as an industry. So I think it's very important to get started on the journey now if you haven't started already.
Agreed.
So, I mean, you both said start. Gavin, you referenced running to build a bot. But what comes next? What are we running to? What do you see the next kind of beyond the 5-year mark? Let's sharpen the crystal ball.
Optimization. I think certainly listening to some people here today, we're all facing the same issues around labor. We're all facing the same issues around budget, and I think the next 5 years, we can all dream, but I do feel that AI is going to be developed at pace over the next 5 years. As Adrian mentioned, we're in its infancy at the moment, so next 5 years, I don't think AI is going to take over the world. I was privileged enough to go to a conference, it must have been about 2 or 3 years ago, and the gentleman presenting, he presented a world, what the world could look like for a traveler in 2040. And it was a gentleman coming off of a plane, going to a hotel room, and all of his suits were printed by 3D printing and so forth. So he wasn't carrying any baggage at the time. Do I think we're going to get there in the next 5 years? No, not at all. But I do think companies that begin integrating AI now will certainly have the right foot forward once the technology becomes readily available, inevitably available for everyone. So I feel that we can all benefit, whether that's around forecasting labor in a kitchen, as I mentioned before, or whether it is having a bot answer all the phone calls for a front desk that's struggling at the moment due to the workforce that we just can't find anymore. I do see AI becoming more integrated into the back office functions and even taking more of a strategic overview of budgets and forecasting and so forth. I'm looking at the finance people now. But I do feel that it's going to become more integrated to every facet of the hotel industry.
Interesting. Adrian, anything to add?
Just to reinforce that message that we will embrace it more. We talk AI-based predictive analytics. That's definitely going to move the needle within the hotel industry. A lot of hotels I visit now have robot cleaners hoovering the carpets. So I think it's important to look at it in the round in terms of the overall tech stack and what's should evolve for the guest, for your own property, your own hotel group. Is it something that's in room? Is it something that a certain part of the hotel, whether it's front desk, whether it's F&B service, whether it's your distribution channels, it's just really important to have a look where you are and what you really want to prioritize in terms of where you put your effort, your time, your budget to move the needle for the guest.
Interesting. So we have a few minutes left, and I would like to get some questions from the audience if possible, just 1 or 2, maybe 3, since we have a captive audience here on stage. Any questions? I can't see.
One over here.
Nearly fell, Peter, sorry. Hi, Adrian, Hannah from Right Revenue. It was announced yesterday that Airbnb had spent close to 200 million acquiring an AI company, specialist company. Is that something we should be frightened of in hotels if Airbnb are all over this?
I think yes, right? We should be concerned.
I think be concerned. I don't think it's anything to be frightened of. I think the important thing that we've tried to drill home through the course of this is set your AI strategy, get on the journey, and you can combat it very, very quickly. And you can be very effective. You don't need to spend an awful lot of money as long as you've got an effective strategy and you've got people that buy into the journey. But you've got to start the journey. That's the key thing to me.
It's also headlining right now, right? So I think we had a question on this side. Is it? Yep.
On my way.
Going to get some steps in
run.
today.
There we go.
Run, Peter.
Eva can't do this. Perhaps my job is safe after all.
Carson, you and I had a conversation about AI once, and you referenced something you said already, which was a lot of it's still machine learning rather than artificial intelligence. And I wondered if you and the panel could comment firstly on, have we looked enough at the back office, at the repetitive tasks that support the rest of the operation in terms of just streamlining the repetitive tasks in finance, revenue management and all that to get to data. And if you like, the follow-up question is, back in the day, only Rolls-Royces had ABS brakes. And now we've got ABS brakes everywhere in every car. Where are we on that journey in the hotel industry?
So it's two long questions, and let me just start with one. So probably 15 years ago, I was pretty controversial in saying revenue management is the first role that should be outsourced to machines. No disrespect to what they do, but I've always said a revenue manager who touches the system generally breaks it, in my opinion. Shoot me, come at me, let's have a conversation with wine. AI is gonna put that on steroids. So I really think, when you get into further back office areas, absolutely, there's opportunity. The point is this, Carl, I think, Rolls-Royce was the first one with ABS. AI, it's starting, but it's going to be everywhere, right? It's going to penetrate every part of our business. Guys?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'll be completely honest and transparent. Some of the answers I've given here today were written by AI. So for those of you wondering, when you're going to be influenced, you just have been. So I think it is going to affect all of us in various different ways.
Adrian, final comment?
Well, you've upset the revenue guys, so I'll upset the finance guys. I think like, even intercompany, right, we can't get processes identical across the board. I think if there was some streamlining, then I think there'd be greater adoption.
Yeah.
So Gavin, Adrian, thank you very much for your time. Thank you, audience.
Thank you, Carson.
Thank you.